All right, listen up, focus learners. If you are tuning in right now, you're not here for basic, run-of-the-mill textbook definitions. You're here because you want to absolutely dominate the Cambridge AS and A-Level Accounting 9706 syllabus. I'm stepping in today as your elite Cambridge curriculum architect, and we are putting the entire exam structure under a microscope. Specifically, we're dissecting one of the most notoriously tricky, high-stakes areas of the entire paper: sources of finance for business entities. Now, tell me if this sounds familiar. You spend hours studying, you feel like you understand the theory completely, you walk into the exam room with confidence, but then you get your paper back and you've inexplicably dropped critical marks on the biggest questions. Well, you are in exactly the right place. Today, we're going to completely reconstruct how you approach these questions. To help us do this, I want you to picture two types of scholars we see every single year. First, there's Alex. Alex is highly technical, fantastic at formulas and facts, but completely freezes up when it comes to open-ended evaluation. Then we have Sam. Sam is a highly creative thinker, builds fantastic arguments, but absolutely struggles with structural precision and timing. Throughout this explainer, we are going to look at exactly where Alex and Sam lose their marks and how you can avoid their exact pitfalls. Okay, let's dive right into this harsh reality. This quote right here, this is drawn directly from the Cambridge Principal Examiner reports. Every single year, without fail, examiners express utter frustration that candidates who clearly know their accounting theory end up losing high tariff marks. And when I say high tariff, I mean those massive, make-or-break 9 to 15 mark essay questions. Why? Simply because they do not understand the anatomy of the command words. Let's look through the examiner's lens for a second. Students like our highly technical Alex will see the word analyze and basically just list out facts. But analyze actually means you need to examine the financial data in detail to explain how and why something happens. It is completely different from evaluate. If the command word is evaluate and you don't offer a justified final judgment weighing the pros and cons, your grade gets capped, period. Or consider explain versus to what extent. Explain just requires you to make a relationship clear, but to what extent is a trap. It's demanding that you explicitly judge the limits of an argument. Examiners use these specific words to set hidden constraints on the prompt. They're literally telling you how to structure your answer. By the end of this session, you are going to know exactly how to decode these words, bypass these common pitfalls, and secure those top-tier marks. So here is our structural blueprint for today's masterclass. We'll start with core principles and foundations, move into the absolute game changer, which is the method mark strategy, then break down the deconstruct, solve, and evaluate framework, and finally, we'll expose the top examiner traps.
Let's kick things off with Section 1. Core Principles and Foundations.
Right. So, the academic benchmarks for this exam demand a massive mental shift. You have to move from superficial breadth to analytical depth. What does that actually mean in the exam room? Well, let's go back to our two scholars, Alex and Sam, sitting in a digital study suite working on the exact same complex question about whether a company should issue debentures or ordinary shares to fund a massive expansion. Alex, our technical wizard, immediately pushes for a purely factual approach. Alex wants to rattle off a memorized list of advantages. Shares don't require fixed interest, but debentures do. Boom, done. But Sam, our creative thinker, argues for a broader conceptual perspective. Well, we need to consider the current economic climate and control of the company. Who is right? To unlock the top-tier marking bands, what Cambridge calls assessment objectives AO1, AO2, and AO3, they both need each other. AO1 is your baseline knowledge. AO2 is application, applying that knowledge to the specific unfamiliar business context in the prompt. But AO3, that is analysis and evaluation. That's the holy grail. Examiners don't just want to list. They want to see mastery. They want to see you debate the essay layout. Superficial breadth is saying bank loans have interest. Analytical depth is saying because this specific business already has a highly geared capital structure, taking on an additional long-term bank loan increases financial risk and could jeopardize their ability to pay future dividends, whereas issuing shares dilutes control but secures long-term stability. See the difference? That is connected conceptual understanding.
Moving right along to Section 2, the method mark strategy. So the crucial point here is understanding how grading actually works behind closed doors. In multi-stage analysis, marks are awarded for the process, not just the final destination. The journey is literally where the money is. Let's say you're calculating the cost of capital or a gearing ratio to justify a source of finance. If you silently punch a bunch of numbers into your calculator, get the final figure slightly wrong because you missed a zero, and just write down that single incorrect final number on the line, you score absolutely zero. No marks. But if you showcase a rigorous procedural framework, if you physically write down the formula you're using, clearly show the specific numbers you extracted from the text, and demonstrate your evidence-based reasoning step by step, Examiners will actively look to award you method marks. They call it the own figure rule. Even if your final calculation goes completely off track because of one early math error, you can still secure 80 or 90% of the marks for that question if your systematic analysis is visible. You have to make your thinking visible. You have to prove your competence. To guarantee you get those method marks, here is the exact chronological procedure you need to lock into your brain. First, deconstruct the question. Highlight the command word. Second, extract the data. Third, select the analytical framework. Now imagine Alex and Sam are actively drafting a model response using these exact steps on a shared screen. They breeze through step 1 and 2, but at step 3, selecting the framework and linking their paragraphs, they hit a massive roadblock. They start arguing over timing and how to transition from the math to the written evaluation without running out of the clock. They're totally stuck. Actually, before I step in and show you the exact cognitive strategy they use to get unstuck, let's pause the session for just a second. If you are serious about securing top grades and you're finding this level of exam deconstruction helpful, I need you to hit the subscribe button for Ace the Exam's IGCSE ONA Lilas at the handle at acetheexam_IGCSE. Make sure you turn on all notifications. You'll see the little bell icon pop up so you never miss our weekly Cambridge breakthrough strategies. We put a massive amount of work into decoding these exams for you, so subscribing is the best way to support the channel. Okay, let's get back to Alex and Sam. I use a specific cognitive strategy to get them unstuck, the execution pivot. This covers steps 4, 5, and 6. Step 4, execute notation. I tell them to stop trying to write the perfect paragraph in their heads. Just write the math with clear line-by-line annotations. Step 5, verify results for reasonableness. Does a 90% gearing ratio make logical sense for a retail bakery? Probably not. Check your work. And finally, step 6, present it all using precise terminology. By breaking it into these micro steps, they rewrite their flawed, panicked section out loud, showcasing a clear, seamless transition from a mediocre, fragmented answer to a flawless, full-mark response. It's all about systematic progression.
All right, section 3, deconstruct, solve, and evaluate.
This is where we run our interactive workshop. I want you to treat this next segment as an immersive pause and practice session. The heartbeat of higher order assessment lies right here, in critical analysis. I want you to mentally picture a complex visual prompt on the board right now, a massive text excerpt detailing a company's financial history alongside a dense table of their current equity and liabilities. You have exactly 60 seconds on a countdown timer to process it. What do? Successful candidates don't panic. They identify the given information, break it into logical steps, solve systematically, and check for reasonableness. But here is the absolute clincher: making justified recommendations. When the 60 seconds are up, you have to make a choice. Top-scoring scholars demonstrate competence across knowledge, analysis, and evaluation by actually questioning the assumptions given to them. They look at that data and say, wait, the directors want to issue more shares, but what does that mean from the perspective of an existing minority shareholder versus a potential new institutional investor? They play devil's advocate. They look at the prompt from multiple angles, and above all, they justify every single business decision with hard evidence extracted directly from that dense text table.
And this brilliantly illustrates how you handle the hardest part of the exam: evaluating alternatives. Let's do a spot the flaw exercise. Imagine a poorly written student answer appears on your screen. It reads, the company should get a bank loan because it's good. Issuing shares is bad because it takes too long. Can you spot the errors? It's vague, it lacks context, and there's zero comparative analysis. To fix this, you need a comparative analysis framework. You must structure your evaluation by comparing similarities alongside differences. The secret weapon here? Comparative connectives. Words like whereas, however, conversely, or in contrast. Let's rewrite that flawed answer the Cambridge way. You would say, whereas a bank loan provides immediate capital without diluting ownership, it introduces mandatory fixed interest payments which elevate financial risk. In contrast, issuing a rights issue avoids fixed interest burdens. However, it may face low uptake from current shareholders if market confidence is poor. Notice how every comparison is supported by evidence, balancing the pros and cons? And you must conclude by definitively stating the relative importance of these factors. Do not sit on the fence, make a firm justified call based on which factor is most crucial to that specific business.
Finally, Section 4, Top Examiner Traps. I am sounding a massive examiner alert right now. Are you actually using the right terms? This is a trap that derails even the most prepared scholars. Principal examiner reports point out year after year that candidates consistently confuse key accounting terminology when discussing sources of finance. Under the extreme pressure and ticking clock of the exam room, students start swapping words. They'll say dividends when they mean interest. They'll confuse authorized share capital with issued share capital. They'll talk about profit when they should be talking about liquidity. It sounds incredibly basic, but it happens constantly. Here is your golden rule. Always define your terms before using them in extended, open-ended responses. Do not ever assume the examiner will just guess what you mean or give you the benefit of the doubt. They won't. You have to be ruthlessly precise with your vocabulary.
But it goes beyond just the words you use. Examiners are testing your professional skills. Practical application in the world of accounting requires adhering to strict presentation conventions. Think about our archetype Sam, the creative thinker. Sam might write a brilliant, logically sound essay on why a company should lease equipment instead of buying it, but if it's just a giant, unformatted block of text, the marks will plummet. Your answers must feature proper, clear headings. You need to present any calculated financial data in standard, appropriate accounting formats. If you are doing a T account or a statement excerpt, it needs to look like one. And you must use clear annotation. The examiner isn't just checking to see if your maths works out, they're actively checking if you can communicate complex financial information like a true, organized professional.
Let's rapidly fire through the top 3 specific exam mistakes flagged by Cambridge principal examiners and synthesize everything we've learned today into 3 core memorable pillars to combat them. Mistake number 1. Answers are too vague. To counter this, use our first pillar, the 3-step question scan. Always scan for the command word, the subject, and the constraint to ensure you give specific details, not generic textbook fluff. Mistake number 2. Format and presentation are forgotten. Counter this with our second pillar, the paragraph balance formula. Every point you make must have a claim, data to support it, and an evaluative connective. Keep it structured. Mistake number 3. Answers lack specific context. Counter this with our third pillar, the last 5 minutes review checklist. Spend the last 5 minutes of the exam checking if you actually mentioned the specific business entity's name and unique situation in your conclusion. I highly suggest creating a quick memory hack right now. Write the acronym VFC at the top of your paper as soon as the exam starts. VFC. Vague, format, context. Let it be your anchor so you never fall into these traps.
So the ultimate question is this. Will you be the student who simply memorizes textbook facts and hopes for the best? Or will you be the one who strategically evaluates, systematically deconstructs, and entirely conquers the paper? Applying the method mark strategy and our comparative frameworks will completely transform your exam performance. Crushing Cambridge exams doesn't happen by accident. It requires this exact, consistent strategy. So if you are ready to put this into practice, I need you to do 3 things right now. First, hit that subscribe button for AC Exams IGCSE O and A levels at the handle at ACExam_IGCSE. Second, turn on the notification bell so you are the first to get our future advanced exam hacks. And third, go down to the comments section right now and publicly declare your target grade. Lock it in. Hold yourself accountable. Keep applying these strategies in your study sessions, and I will see you in the next masterclass.